Welcome to today's tutorial. In today's tutorial we are going to create a class in Python program. A class is basically a blueprint for creating objects in any object programming language, and for that reason it is an important aspect to understand in Python program, because Python program is an object-oriented programming language. And for that reason, let us get started with the classes in Python program. To start a class in a Python program, you start with the keyword class. Everything is in lowercase. The keyword class is in lowercase. So next, you give your class a name. We can create a class of employees. In this case, maybe we can call it employees. Notice that the name of the class starts with a capital letter. That is, it starts with a capital letter here. The line containing the keyword class ends with a colon. This is just a convention of distinguishing the name of a class from other objects in Python program, and it is an important practice. There is nothing much you can change it, but this is a good convention. So this is how you are supposed to name your class in Python program. Next, you need to instantiate a constructor function. In this case, we define a constructor function with the keyword def, then two underscores. We call them init method. We call the init method. As you can see, you have to include the keyword self within the constructor function. Then you need to use the self keyword within the definition of the variables that you declare within the constructor function. So in this case, we can have maybe a self dot name, the name for the employee, and in this case we need maybe to include the name of the employee. In this case, we are going to include the first name and the last name of the employee, because we want to return the names of the employee. So in this case, we are going to have a variable, a parameter per se, first name and the last name within the constructor function. Then we can use the last name and the first name and the last name. In this case, this is a good convention. We could retain the name, but out of experience, I think retaining the name that you have, maybe like first name like we have, is a good practice for me, and maybe for you if you so wish to embrace the practice. So in this case, we can set the first name to the name that we have here, and we can also create another variable for the last name. So self dot last name, in this case, last name equals last name. We have created the variables for our classes, for our init method, in this case for our constructor function in this case, and we can use the names in other parts of our class. So this is basically an init method, and we have defined it. We can add other values as variables and values as we so wish, but for now let's stick with those two, because they will serve the purpose that we want to serve at this point. So next, we can define a method, maybe to return the name, maybe like a method. A method is basically a function within the class. So once a function is defined within a class, it is not called a function, but rather it is called a method. And so for this case, we can have a method that gets the names, that gets the names of the employee, get first name. Maybe we can have a method like get first name. We need to have the keyword self. We need to retain it within here. and because we are going to use it to refer to the same object that we are creating at this point. And in this case, to return, we want to return the first name of this employee. So we are going to return self dot first name. So first name. We are going to return that name. So basically now we can create an object using this class at this point to see how to test whether it is working fine. And for that reason we can have the first employee, maybe like employee 1 in this case, and we can define this employee 1 using the name of the class that we have created. So in this case we call the employees, we call the class basically here, and then we can maybe like we can print the employee 1 in this case, employee 1. Let's save the changes and run the program to see how they have come. I forgot to include the names, the first name that is, and the last name. So we have an error here, and to solve that error we need to include the first name and the last name of our employee, our employee 1. Maybe we can have maybe like James, and the last name might be James Michael. And then we can save the changes and run the program. Now as you can see, we have managed to create an object for the first employee. This is the object, but we have not been able to get the names of the object. I think here I made a mistake. I misspelled the name James. So James, in order to print the name of this employee, we need to get the first name of this employee. Then we need to use the method, this method that we created here, the method that we created here for getting the first name. Then we can use that method here, get first name. We can use that method here to get the first name of the employee that we have created here. We save the changes once again and we run the program. And you can see, as you can see, we have managed to get the first name of our employee, the first employee, the employee 1 in this case. So to get the last name of this employee, we can basically use the method that we have for the first name. We can simply copy paste this one and change a few things, because the method are almost the same. In this case we have the first name, but we can change it to last name, because now we want to get the last name. We can change also here the last name, because that's what we want to get. After we define this method, now we have the method for getting the first name and the method for getting the last name. So now, in order to get the last name here for our employee, we can basically copy paste this method, this print method as once again, and change a few things here as well, because now we want to get the last name. You can see how these methods of course those that are almost similar work hand in hand, and you only need to change a few things here and there. And now we can save the changes to get the last name for our employee, and then we run the program as well. In this case we have managed to get the first name. This print method gives us the first name for our employee. This is the first name, and the second name, or basically the last name, is the name that we have here. Please understand that these are positional parameters, or basically arguments, and the way they follow each other here, that's how they are printed in this case. So this is basically the first name and this is the last name. That's how a basic introduction of classes in a Python program. and I hope you have gained something. This is basically intended to introduce you to how to create a class in Python program, and in the future I'm going to introduce more methods and other things than like getters and setters. But for this time round, I wanted us to just have an overview of how to define a class in Python program, and we have done that. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please remember to subscribe to the channel, and please remember to like the video. When you like the video and when you subscribe to the channel, you help the channel to grow, and you also help me to basically gain the momentum to produce more videos, more tutorials that are intended to be helpful to you if you're learning your Python, or basically if you want to improve your learning on Python program. So basically, don't forget to like the video, and don't also forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.